Thank you, media houses. My name is Edmund Yakani, Executive Director of CEPO. Thank you for attending our press conference today, which is mainly intended for us to call to refrain from armed political violence. As you are aware, CEPO has been closely following the development across the country, and this development is more negative following the incidences that we have seen in some parts of Western Equatoria state, in some parts of Upper Nile state, in some parts of Western Bahr el Ghazal state, and we feel that those developments are undermining the R-ARCSS and the permanent ceasefire, which is sort of linked with the self-hostility by the parties who are signatories to R-ARCSS. So we are a bit worried that this particular development might have registered a growth violations that may return the country to war. CEPO is urging the government to brief citizens about the recent developments across the country following the Tombra and the Nasser County incidences. That includes the political atmosphere in Juba, as all of us were aware. So our call for peace and stability is the ultimate goal of the common citizens' interests. We demand strongly for our political leaders to refrain, our political leaders from various political parties to the R-ARCSS, not to return the country back to war. As Edmund Yakani is Executive Director of CEPO, we have seen the military incidents that happened recently, and specifically in the parts of Western Equatoria state, and in particular that is Tombra, and we have in the Western Bahr el Ghazal, the Juba River, we have Nasser, we have Upper Nile state, the Nasser incidents. These are disturbing, but this also demonstrates clearly the risks that the faith of the R-ARCSS is facing, and specifically the recent transitional extended period of the 2 years. The newly extended transitional period for 2 years, which is 2025-2027, begins with serious damages, violation of permanent ceasefire, and incidences of political arrest and detention of leaders of the SPLM-IO, both military and political in Juba, which were registered, and we are aware that 3 IO top military ranking commanders are detained, and 1 minister, which is the Minister of Petroleum, is arrested. We hope that they will be released unconditionally. CEPO is calling upon the leadership of the White Army in Nasser County to embrace, to refrain from violence. And if they have any political grievances associated with the approach for the replacement of the long-staying SSPDF soldiers in Nasser, it is better to use dialogue for resolving or seeking solutions to their grievances. It seems some hidden actors are facilitating proxy war in some parts of Western Equatoria, Western Bahr el Ghazal, and Upper Nile states. CEPO is calling citizens to distance themselves from being used as militias by some of the politician elite or political elites for undermining the national peace and stability. CEPO calls the regional and international institutions such as IGAD, AU, UN to urge to intervene on mitigating the negative developments in the country. Protection of civilians in the areas where violence are witnessed is getting worse, and humanitarian needs is on rise, as we are aware that we are in a dire humanitarian situation. Finally, CEPO is urging His Excellency President, His Excellency First Vice President, and other Vice President to hold urgent meeting for making some decisions for resolving the devolving situation across the country. Our leaders should walk the talk. Their decisions, like the recent meeting of the presidents, which I personally attended in person, good decisions were made, but we come to learn that the good decisions that were made were also violated the following day, and which is the incidents of Nasser or the occurrence of violence in Nasser County. So as an activist, I would like to call upon that, but also I would like to add one particular concern that we have seen that the incident happened in Tombra and in Nasser. We have seen a clear incidences are on rise against journalists. You have been aware that after the removal of the governor of Western Equatoria state, 4 journalists were being targeted. And of course, of the incident of Nasser, some journalists are also receiving threats. So I would like to urge our political leaders that whenever there's a violence, journalists are not enemy and there's no target journalists. Journalists have the right to take voices of people like us to the attention of the citizens, and then voices of the citizens to our attention, at the same time voice of the leaders. So I would like to urge that people should abstain from targeting journalists, but also people should abstain from using hate speech, hostile propaganda, and misinformation and disinformation in social media platform, and specifically the recent platform of Clubhouse have fueled violence in Tombra, in Nasser, and even in Juba River. For me, following the arrest of the senior commanders of SPLMIU, and of course on the top is the deputy CDF, plus others, and plus the Minister of Petroleum, my appeal is that if there's any political disagreement, our leaders should abstain from anything that is unlawful, what I can call as arbitrary arrest. I hope that His Excellency President will intervene, even if the direction from him, for releasing him so that we can embrace the culture of dialogue. Because we are at a moment where the only political framework that can save the country is the R-ARCSS, and these are members of the R-ARCSS. So even how much they are discontented, we urge for their unconditional release, and we hope that at least from tomorrow they can join their families and they can live with their families. Even if how much they are discontented, detention and arrest is not an alternative, but we wish that they should continue with the dialogue, as we have seen what happened 2 days ago when I attended the meeting of the presidency. You are aware of they are only there in the public domain. You have the deputy chief of staff, and they have some members with the National Security Service, internal and external bureau. They are all already arrested. Of course, that's why we're calling for them to be released, and at least to ensure that, and their safety, the security is taken into account, because we are aware that a country like South Sudan, merging out of a post-conflict situation, can't go smoothly. There will be political disagreement from time to time, but those political agreements will be resolved through dialogue rather than threatening rights of people in terms of human rights, or creating a situation where someone may lose his life in what we describe as degrading action or inhuman treatment. So we hope that the law should be applied. If they have a conflict with the law, if they don't have any conflict with the law, there should be unconditional release. But we hope that it's politically motivated situation, but we hope they should continue with the dialogue, and they should make sure that dialogue is the only option that they can use for mitigating or for resolving their differences. If you watch the streets of Juba and if you see the incidences of the country, it seems the symptoms of return to 2016, but also in a worst manner, is very high. And that's why we're urging our leaders that there's a need for them to take the spirit of having culture of dialogue as more important, because already Nasser is in the situation of worse than 2016. So the question is, how quick will it spread, and how quick will it take some part of the country? That's what we're calling for, and that's why we're calling upon the White Army that they should really refrain, even if they have problem with the approach of replacement with SSPDF forces in Nasser. We hope that they should continue with the dialogue, because we are worried that if we undermine the situation in Nasser and the situation in the side of Western Equatoria, it may drag this country back to war. And our leaders has promised us all across the board, from the political parties that are signatories to R-ARCSS, that they will never return the country back to war. But we have seen them return the country to war. And one of the things that made me to say we have seen the action to return the country to war is when I personally attended the meeting of the presidency. The meeting was cordial, although there's a bit of challenges of confrontation in the meeting, but when we came out and we concluded decisions have been made that we expect peace and stability to prevail. We don't expect Nasser to be where Nasser is now. But unfortunately, as I said, our leaders, what they decided to please us is not what they want. What they want sometimes is not what does it please us. And this repeat what I used to say usually is that when our leaders disagree, they kill us, and when they agree, they loot us. Now, if they want to please us, they will tell us public statement. While what they don't tell us, the public statement, is what divides us. And we have seen the situation in Nasser. After we walk out to a press conference, making a statement on behalf of the citizens, making that positive language of that the meeting is cordial and positive, and the following morning, there's a war in Nasser where we have lost life of innocent South Sudanese, which we don't know their numbers up to now, and which I'm demanding the government to really inform people what is going on in Nasser. It's very important, the humanitarian situation. So for me, that's really disturbing. That's disturbing. So it means our leaders never walk their talk. What they do is that they walk what they have not expressed or they have not talked about it. My message to the citizens out there that politicians will disagree from time to time, but whenever they disagree, we should not fuel any violence around their disagreement. That's one thing that I like to tell citizens, that our safety and security is in our own hands, and the only way we can secure our safety and security is if we don't take side with the politicians. So that's one message I'd like to tell the citizens. The second message I want to convey the citizens that let the politicians not drag us into violence. If they want to go violently, they have the parliament, they have the council of ministers, they have the ministries, they can fight there. If they are military, they have their barracks, they have the training ground. But we should not take side with politicians. And I know our politicians never survive until they turn the violence in an ethnic line. And we don't want to go to any ethnic confrontation like what we have experienced in our history. So that's my message to our citizens. But also our message to our leaders, and specifically the government, is that the silence of the government is raising the panic of the citizens across the country. We wish today the government will brief the citizens and tell what they think is the right information citizens need to know. So that at least to calm the situation, as I've been calling for the last 2 days, yesterday and today, I still call that the government need to really inform the citizens what is going on. And why should the decision of the meeting of the presidency be violated the following morning? Are they telling us that South Sudanese are excellent in reaching decisions, and at the same time, they are very dangerous in violating the same decisions they reach on today and on the following morning? So I think for me, that's really the area of the call, and that's the area of the message I like to citizens, that I don't think that this situation will take us back towards violence if we remain vocal and if we keep on calling our leaders to provide us with information, so that we really get stable and we get the element of stability in the country. The way they started rolling out the transitional period with damaging actions and with serious violations, it tells us the road to December 2026 is too rough and with too many potholes. And I'm conscious those potholes are going to be rough potholes. Because if they are beginning with these potholes that we're in now, and you can see yesterday how Juba is, it's clear that our leaders are telling us that when they are caught up in such a moment where political accountability is needed from them, the only way is that they sort themselves out through violence. And what this would have said. So I'm really, really so disturbed that I can't rate my optimism that this transition will end in a peaceful manner, because they have started all roughly. That's the worry. And this time around, they have changed their calendars, which is always December. Now they're really hitting us before we to December. So I'm a bit worried that the road to December 2026 is going to be rough, unless they have to prove to us that they are committed. And besides the question of constraint in resources, and we have found the same messages come from the leaders of NPTC that finances have constrained them not to unify the forces. So I hope they will change their attitudes from what they have done for the last, what I can call 5 or 6 days of the beginning of the newly extended transition, which I describe as damaging, starting with the damaging actions. One, of course, we have had early warnings around the mobilization of the white army or the youth, or what we call armed civilians, whatever descriptions that you have. Of course, we are so disappointed that they have a genuine demand, but that genuine demand shouldn't be resolved in a violent manner. But this is why also I will tell you that so many people have agitated the violence that took place through the social media platforms. Not all of social media platform users, but some. But I think the excuse that because of the arms embargo, we are unable to deploy unified forces, I feel this argument is not correct, because I'm a part of the agreement. The soldiers that are supposed to be unified are soldiers who have been active in the war with their guns since 2013 until when the agreement was signed. So we are unifying civilians, we are unifying people who are carrying guns, we are unifying people who are always shooting at each other. So the big question that we need to be answered before you could flash arms embargo as an excuse: where are the guns that the soldiers have been using? Are they really honest to us by bringing to us soldiers with sticks? Where are those guns, and where are those guns hidden, and why are those guns hidden? That's one thing I'd like to go forward. So if we say it is because of the arms embargo that we are unable to unify the guns, look at the amount of the rifles and the guns in the hands of the civilians in the battle in Nasir. The battle of Nasir yesterday tells you very clear, arms are somewhere hidden for war, but arms are not interested to be used for peace. So unified forces are supposed to ensure for us to have a peace. But when it's a violence like Nasir, we can see huge arms and even big arms in the hands of the civilians. But when it's a unification of forces, we see stakes. It's contradicting. We need peace with the stakes, but we go for violence with guns. I don't think that our leaders are genuine. And that's why for me there's a question that like our leaders that they're not genuine to us. When we talk of peace, they raise the stakes. When we talk of violence, they raise the guns. And why when you say take us to peace as quick as possible, they say that arms embargo, we don't have the guns. But why do you have guns for war and sticks for peace? That for me is the equation. And that's the challenge. And of course, additionally, based on the question, I can't forget, my message to them is that the action they're doing is rendering R-ARCSS irrelevant, or rendering R-ARCSS as on the road to fail,